The Hoop Heads Podcast is brought to you by Head Start Basketball.
Hi, this is Don Showalter from USA Basketball, and you are listening to the Hoop Heads Podcast.
Hey Hoop Heads! Wanted to take a minute to shout out our partners and friends at Dr. Dish Basketball. Their Dr. Dish shooting machines are undoubtedly the most advanced and user-friendly machines on the market, and they truly accelerate skill development faster than ever. Learn more at drdishbasketball.com and follow their incredible content at Dr. Dish B-Ball on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Mention the Hoop Heads Podcast and save an extra $300 on the Dr. Dish Rebel, All-Star, and CT models. Also, make sure to check out the new Dr. Dish Home Machine, which is perfect for these crazy times when gyms and schools are closed. Visit drdishbasketball.com for details. That's a great deal, Hoop Heads. Get your Dr. Dish shooting machine today. Hello and welcome to the 19th edition of the Coach's Corner Roundtable on the Hoop Heads Podcast. Each episode of the Coach's Corner Roundtable will feature our all-star lineup of guests answering a single basketball question. A new Coach's Corner Roundtable will drop around the 15th of each month. July's Roundtable question is, what is the most out-of-the-box strategy, tactic, or training method you have ever tried with your team or an individual player? Our coaching lineup this month includes Mark Anderson from the Owensboro Thoroughbreds of the Basketball League, Craig Campbell from Clovis West High School, Mark Cascio from Catholic High School, Matt Grahn from the University of Dallas, Tim Heuer from 180 Coaching, Alicia Maki from Sierra Canyon High School, Dell Leonard from Mountain Home High School, Don Showalter from USA Basketball, John Shulman from the University of Alabama Huntsville, Tyler Whittcomb from West Michigan Aviation Academy, and Todd Wolff from St. Francis High School. Please enjoy this roundtable episode of the Hoop Heads Podcast, and once you're finished listening, please give the show a 5-star rating and review. Make sure you're subscribed to the Hoop Heads Pod so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. If you haven't already, please tell a coaching colleague or friend about the Hoop Heads Podcast so they can listen and learn from some of the best minds in the game. Mark Anderson, Owensboro Thoroughbreds of the Basketball League.
Probably the out-of-the-box strategy that I've used as a coach with a team was a 4-out, 1-in zone defense versus a three-point shooting team. I was a high school coach at the time, and we were going into the state tournament in Indiana, and the team that we were playing was a bigger school, and they shot all threes, and the center was instructed that if he shot anything outside of the free throw lane, he'd be taken out of the game. So what we did is we put 4 guys on the three-point line, or just right straddling it, or just right above it, and made them shoot from a little bit further out. And then they really never tried to penetrate. I'd like to tell you that we won the game, but we didn't. We lost 55-52. We had the ball at the last second to shoot a desperation 3. But it's also a strategy that I've used at the professional level. This past season, we were up 3 with 5-6 seconds to go. The team we were playing had advanced the ball into the front court, and we came out after the timeout into a 4-1 zone, and the other team didn't have any timeouts left. They didn't know what to do against it, and the clock ran out with them dribbling, trying to get handoffs in a 3. So it's something that I wouldn't use a lot in the game situation, but towards the end of the game, maybe as a surprise tactic with the lead, it may be something to try just to get away with once or twice in a season.
Craig Campbell from Clovis West High School in Fresno, California.
I think one of the out-of-the-box things that we do, we try to do several of them, but we run a blob team or baseline out-of-bounds team, which, a lot of teams just the ball goes out of bounds and the 5 you have on the floor, they run the play. And when we were deep, we'd kind of leave that team out there. But in 2017, we graduated a lot of talent, and my second team was having trouble remembering the plays. They're holding back the top 6 or 7 kids from adding more stuff. And so we went to a blob team so that we had 5 kids who were going to execute every time. But we also went to it because if you think about it, what if you're running it for a 3 and your 2 or 3 best 3-point shooters are sitting on the bench just by chance at that time? So I run our blob team with a passer / decision maker as the inbounder, at least 2 very good shooters, at least 1 slasher, and at least 1 post who we can use for bigs, for lobs and different things, but also as screeners to either get mismatches or whatever. So our efficiency on our blob team is I don't look to get the ball in, we look to score. And so we run a lot of good sets to score off of blobs. And by having the personnel I want doing that every single time, I get to handpick what 5 kids I want to try to score off of that. So if we get a 3-point shot off a backscreen on a blob, my best shooter's getting that ball versus maybe it's my 8th or 9th best player. So we're on a blob team. As soon as the buzzer sounds, they know they have to run check in. The kids that were on the floor check out. And as soon as the ball's being inbounded, whatever kids that were initially on the floor check back in if they, were coming in and out. And it's been very efficient for us the last 3 years where we scored a high pace, and I can take that blob team. All of our kids need to learn the base sets, but I can take that blob team, and by the end of the season, we've got 25 blobs in, and those kids, know them like the back of their hand. You really need a 6th person, so you have a sub. The other nice thing about it is your blob team isn't necessarily your starting 5. And so you could have an 8th man that's a really high decision maker or something of that nature where you kind of give a kid an extra role that makes them feel more valued and gets them more opportunity as well. So our blob team is definitely one of the things that we do that's out of the box. Kind of confuses the refs because people are constantly coming in and out, but it's controlled havoc for us. We know what we're doing. Here is one other out of the box thing we've done before is when we know the team's inbounder on their blobs is very small, like in girls high school basketball, if it's a 5'4" or 5'5" guard, we've actually situationally gone a blob defense where we'll put 2 bigs in, so 2 kids that are like 6'1", 6'2", and just as the ref is about to hand the inbounder the ball, both of our 2 bigs will sprint and double the ball. And so we have 2 people on the ball preventing the blob inbounds pass from coming in, so no opportunity for anything to the rim for the other team. The other 3 girls mark up. One covers the ball side corner, one covers the ball side elbow, and one covers the weak side block. And the only thing teams have been able to do on us when they get that inbounds in is literally heave a pass back towards half court. And so it's taken away, it catches them so off guard. It's taken away any scoring options on the blob. We've actually gotten a few 5-second counts off of it. We've actually had teams have to burn a timeout because of it. So it's a situational, not very common to see teams double team the inbounder on a blob offense for them, blob defense for us. So it's another situational thing that one of the other arrows we put in our quiver just for if we ever see that in the scout and need it, we know we have it in our bag.
Mark Cascio, Catholic High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
I think the most out-of-the-box tactic that we've used is when we saw a triangle and 2, we stuck our 2 players being face guarded at half court and played 3-on-3 in the half court. I think it just it threw our opponents for such a loop that they got out of it and we never had to face it again.
Matt Grahn, recruiting coordinator at the University of Dallas.
One of the most outside the box tactics I've used with our players was here about 5-6 years ago. We were coming off a record-breaking season at the school for most wins, and we lost quite a bit of a senior class and a lot of leadership. And so we were determining roles and what we needed out of our returning players in individual meetings at the end of the year. And what I did is I took those roles and actually created like superhero personas for our guys returning, and went so far as to create Photoshop images of them in their superhero personas and make posters out of them. So, some of the roles we had was one of our guys, we just needed him to be a beast. And so I photoshopped him as the Beast character from the X-Men movies. And another one, we needed him to rebound. So I photoshopped him as War Machine from the X-Men movies, but renamed it the Rebound Machine. And, Floor General, guy photoshopped as a general. And the guys had a lot of fun with it. And for the most part, most of those guys took to their roles. And it was just kind of fun, a fun way of emphasizing what we wanted out of those guys and what we needed to do to be successful. But it was also fun for those guys to, see each other in those roles and create images in their heads of what their teammates should be and hold them accountable to that too.
Tim Heuer from 180 Coaching in Orange County, California.
Hi, this is Tim Heuer with 180 Coaching, and the most out-of-the-box training method that I do, I would have to say would be in regards to shooting. So I would say anywhere from 50 to 75% of the time when I'm working with people shooting, form shooting, I'm not actually having them hold the basketball and shooting at a hoop. Most of the time, they're shooting maybe on the line or shooting at a line on the floor. They're shooting on the side of the backboard, shooting to a teammate, or shooting against a wall. And I always have a saying that I say that change the root, change the tree. And I'm really trying to correct their form. And it's hard to correct someone's form when they're concerned about making the basket, because they're not going to do that right away. So what I really try to focus on is certain fundamentals that I preach and teach. And then also just having the ball go straight. And when you're shooting against a wall, side of the backboard, to a teammate or a line on the floor, you're working on certain fundamentals, and it's an easier transition. And hopefully their form will naturally improve. And then, a third to 25% of the time, we start shooting actually at a real live basket. Also, a great way to get up a lot of shots in a short duration is shooting without the ball. In fact, that's typically how I start my practices with my teams, is we take about 100 shots in the first 5 minutes. And the way you do that is no one has a basketball. They just line up on the baseline or on the 3-point line or at half court or any line on the floor, and you just have them shoot. Just have them take a shot without a basketball. And you can get 20 to 30 shots up every minute. And so you can get anywhere from 100 to 180 shots in 5 minutes. And it's a great way to get your shot numbers up. So that's the most unusual or out of the box thing that I do in regards to training methods.
Make sure you check out these other great podcasts from the Hoopheads Podcast Network. Thrive with Trevor Huffman, Beyond the Ball, Cavaliers Central, and the CoachMaze.com podcast. Alicia Maki, Sierra Canyon High School in Chatsworth, California.
The most out-of-the-box tactic we have ever used in a game would be the state championship game in 2019. We were up against probably the best three-point shooting team I've ever come across. Anyone who knows Coach Doc Shepler knows his teams can always shoot the three, and this team was his best percentage group. And they were led by Hannah Jump, who was headed to Stanford. So what we did was we played a man and two, denying their two best shooters all over the floor all the time. And we put our 6'3" center on the point guard. We had her back off and contest the drive with her length, and we dared her to shoot the three over her. So I guess it worked. We won the game, and we won the state championship, and definitely a crazy tactic, and one we hopefully don't ever have to use again, but it worked out.
Dell Leonard, Mountain Home High School, Mountain Home, Arkansas.
Dell Leonard, Mountain Home, Arkansas. This month's roundtable question: what is the most out-of-box strategy, tactic, or training method you have ever tried with your team or an individual player? I'm going to go with strategy. Last year, we had a decent team. I knew that we'd probably be a lot better at the end than we were at the beginning, but we opened up with a very good team that was ranked in the top 10 in some of the national polls. And their strength was that they all could shoot the three. They shot it in transition. They ran dribble drive. They shot it in their half-court offense. They averaged 80-something points a game. And we really didn't match up well with them. So I knew if we lined up toe-to-toe with them that we were going to lose by 30 anyway. So I thought, why not try something out of the box and see if it works? And if we lose by 30, then it wouldn't have made a difference. So we practiced. We literally had 3 kids that were volleyball players. Their season ended. They got 3 practices under their belt with us. We worked really hard on 2 things, and that was we sent 4 people back in transition, and they ran to the 3-point line and found a man because the team we were playing was so good at shooting the 3 with success in transition. And then the other thing we did once we took away the 3-pointer in transition is we did not help off. I know that's not that's not a surprise for most people that defend a dribble drive, but we literally hugged our man like 7th grade defense away from the ball. And I told our kids, if you get beat off the dribble, which you're going to some because that's how talented some of these girls are, I just want you to try to chest up, throw your hands back where they're not at an angle where you don't foul the shooter, and you'd be surprised how many times that they're so used and conditioned to having that wide open 3-pointer available because people have a tendency to help off. Well, when they didn't have that 3-point shooter wide open, then it was just one-on-one to the rim, and if we didn't foul, it's amazing how many times that those teams would miss those chippers, especially on the left side. So that's probably the most out-of-box thing that we've ever tried strategy-wise, and actually the reason why I wanted to call in and submit this is because it actually worked. We ended up winning the game, and it was something that almost snake bit us a little bit because the next few games our kids suddenly forgot how to help off the dribble, which we didn't. We needed them to get back to regular man-to-man, but thank you very much.
Don Showalter, USA Basketball.
Don Showalter here with USA Basketball. And the question for this month is, what is the most unusual thing, out-of-the-box strategy or tactic that I have used with a team or an individual player? I would think probably the most unusual for me would be playing a triangle and 2 on a triangle and 2 defense on underneath out-of-bounds play by the opposition. In fact, we tried it and we liked it so much we kept using that with our junior national team, taking away the 2 best shooters of the other team and playing a triangle and 2 on just the out-of-bounds play. And we would stay with it for the extent of that series. So once we got possession of the ball the next time down, we were in our normal defense. So that's probably the most out-of-the-box thing that I can think of. Thanks. Have a great day.
John Shulman, University of Alabama Huntsville, and the 720 Sports Group.
This is John Shulman, head basketball coach at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. And the question is, what's the most unique or outside-the-box thinking tactic or whatever I've done in coaching? I'm not real creative, but I do have a couple things that maybe other people don't do. I guess individually, trying to teach a kid how to shoot with good form, taking tape and taping that left thumb back. We have a lot of thumbers, and I've coached a lot of thumbers. Trying to take that thumb out of play in whatever tape you can find and taping that daggum thumb back with athletic tape, and you may not be able to fling a ball at them, and because they'll have a tough time catching it, but at least it tries to teach them how to get that left thumb out of their shot. I guess I do more outside the box thinking maybe with our team. And this would be the one thing I'd probably like to give, and hopefully you can follow a little bit. When your team's fatigued, exhausted, you've lost 2 in a row late, they're beat down, I will get the pads out like we're going to have an unbelievable practice and we're going to kill them in box out drills. And then while I'm talking to them, very simple, I'll have an assistant coach bring in the bases and the bats and the balls, and we'll play wiffle ball. And I'll be all-time pitcher, and we'll play wiffle ball, and we'll have an absolute blast. Or take them to a movie, or do something to get their brains off of where they're at. And it's just a little pick-me-up deal that I've tried to do, and we usually have a lot of success after we play wiffle ball. This is another thing. I was actually talking to an old assistant coach and buddy of mine today. Is we had a coaches competition in practice on how positive we could be in practice. We were coming back from a loss at Austin Peay. Our kids were exhausted. They didn't feel like being there. No one felt like being there, but we played a really good James Madison team the next night with Lefty Drizel as the coach. And we had, me and the 2 other assistant coaches had a positive competition. No one else knew about it, but we did. Whoever's the most positive got a free dinner that night. And just went crazy and faked enthusiasm. And sometimes you got to do that to get your team going. Just listen, whatever outside the box thinking you can do, really nothing's wrong if you truly believe in it. So I believe in playing wiffle ball when things go bad and having fun and, bringing your team over to your house when things are going bad, not when things are going good, when things are going bad, and having a dinner and making sure they know that you love them and care for them. It's not outside the box thinking, but I think it's very important. Hope some of this helped. I'm not a pro in outside the box thinking, but hopefully some of this helped and you can use it and have some success. Thanks.
Tyler Whittcomb, West Michigan Aviation Academy, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Hi, Hoopheads Nation. This is Tyler Whittcomb from West Michigan Aviation Academy. This is roundtable question number 19. What is the most out-of-box strategy, tactic, or training method you have ever tried with your team or individual player? Easily, the most out-of-box strategy I used is about 6 years ago. I was coaching varsity girls basketball. We were playing a team that they're fully loaded with 2 players, and scouting them prior to the game, they were used to triangle and 2s and boxes and 1s, and they're used to kind of the typical tactic that you'd have, or gimmick basketball, whatever you want to call it. So what we did is we actually guarded 3 players with 5 players, and we let 2 players just flat out anytime they get the ball shoot it. They're that bad. I know it was kind of a very gimmicky tactic and strategy, but it actually worked. We basically let those players make plays, and we did everything we can to basically guard. It's definitely their 2 stars, but then their 3rd player that could make a few plays here and there. And it was a team that was 16-4 team that year, and actually we pulled a big upset that game by using that tactic and strategy. So hopefully it can work for coaches. And it wasn't the whole game, but it was most of the game. They adapted to the strategy, and we had to make some adaptations as well. So I hope that helps. Thank you very much.
Todd Wolfson, St. Francis High School, La Cañada, California.
Hey, how's everybody doing? This is Todd Wolfson. I'm the head coach of St. Francis High School over in La Cañada, California, right outside Pasadena. And I want to answer the question, most out-of-box strategy we use. And there's 2 of them that I like. The first one is during a losing streak, 3-4 games in a row. Most coaches are yelling at kids and trying to rewrite their game plans and why this, why that. Usually if we lose 3 or 4 in a row, start practice, we're playing dodgeball, or we're going to play ultimate frisbee, or we're doing something that's completely out of the box that just gets our mind off of losing. When you're losing and you're on a losing streak, everybody knows you're losing. The tension's palpable in the room, and a lot of those things. So I just try to do something completely different to start practice, to get their minds off things and to change the flow and change the rhythm. And then with individuals, I kind of use a little bit of reverse psychology sometimes. And, if a kid's having a bad shooting week and, he's 2 for 14 from 3, that week, what I'll do is I'll go find a Steph Curry box score where he's 3 for 21, or a Michael Jordan box score where he shot, 2 for 15, and Kevin Durant bad box scores, and I print them all out and post them in his locker, all around his locker, and that way he can rip them off and laugh, because he's not the only one that goes through bad shooting streaks. Even pros do. And, then we'll sit down eventually and talk about it and joke about it. And, I'll start calling him Steph Curry during practice and things like that, so he can, just kind of take his mind off things. But those are 2 strategies I use that a little out of the box, one team-wise and one individual-wise. Hope everybody's doing well, staying safe and healthy, and take care. See you next week.
Coaches, we've teamed up with E3 Analytics so you can now purchase 3 of their exclusive new playbooks. If you're looking for ways to improve your team next season, these playbooks blend affordability with the quality content that serious coaches are looking for. Just visit hoopheadspod.com/store and you'll find playbooks from Coach Don Showalter of USA Basketball, Coach Mike Flynn from the Illawarra Hawks in Australia, who coached LaMelo Ball last season, and Coach Tyler Whittcomb from West Michigan Aviation Academy. Check out these great resources at hoopheadspod.com/store.
Thanks for listening to the Hoop Heads podcast, presented by Head Start Basketball.